Hi everyone. We're going to finish our first aid chapter talking about environmental injuries, environmental situations. So the first part that we will talk about is heat related. Since we live in Texas, it's going to be what we deal with the most. So go into your slides. We are going to start with our heat related conditions. And here's the ones that we're going to talk about today. Hyperthermia, heat cramps, heat exhaustion, heat stroke, and hyponatremia. Okay, most of those I'm pretty sure that you've heard before. So the first one that we're going to talk about is what we call heat stress. Okay, athletes who are working out in a hot, humid environment like Texas are going to be the main ones that get heat stress. Okay, your body is still at a normal temperature, but it's just getting a little bit overworked. Okay, your body wants to keep you at your 98.6 as best as you can. Okay, and so the harder you're working out, the more your body wants to increase in temperature. Okay, and so your body's constantly trying to keep you from raising too high. There's a couple different ways that our body is going to cope with heat. Okay, the first one that we're going to talk about is conductive. Okay, heat exchange. And that's when you're coming in direct contact with a cooler object or a warmer object for that matter. So if you were to put your hand on the stove, okay, when the stove was on, your hand would immediately feel warm because you are coming in direct contact with the warm object. On the opposite side of things, if you were to take an ice bag and put the ice bag on your shoulder, that would still be conductive heat exchange because you were coming in direct contact. The second one is going to be convective, all right, and that has to do with air or water masses. Okay, and we'll in sports medicine 2, in sports medicine 2, we will talk about this as a medium, okay? But that's going to be specifically like somebody that is in water, like if you are swimming in a warm hot tub, or excuse me, in the hot tub. That's going to increase your body temperature, okay? Or if we jump in Lake Michigan, in the mid of winter, it is going to decrease your temperature because it's cold, okay? This third one that we're going to talk about is radiant heat exchange. And radiant heat is going to be talking about coming from like the sun, all right? Your sun radiates heat down on you. We all know that when it's really hot, we can see the little heat waves off the concrete and that kind of stuff. That's going to be talking about radiant heat exchange. And the last one that we're going to talk about is evaporative heat loss. When we're working out and we start sweating, that is the body's way that it's going to start cooling itself off. All right. And all those are very important because in these next conditions that we're going to talk about, you have to be able to cool your body off the best you can, or we start to develop these problems. So an important term to understand is hyperthermia, okay? Hyperthermia is talking about any rise in our body temperature, okay? We will see this a lot in athletics when they're working out in the hot, humid environment. You can see this with people who are I lost it. I don't know. But hyperthermia is an increase in body temperature. Okay. It's important to make sure that our body is starting to sweat. It's trying to get us back down to where we should be. All right. But this is kind of the start of all heat related conditions. All right. Big things to look at is if somebody already has an infection going on, their body's already fighting something else off. That's why you get fevers. Okay, but if you're already fighting something else off and you go to work out during athletics, then you're having too much of a rise in your body temperature for your body to handle that, and that's when we start to get some heat-related illnesses. So we have this thing called the hypothalamus. Okay, the hypothalamus lives in our brain, and it is responsible for keeping us at that 98.6. Okay, when we are hot and we have a fever, it tells our body that we are too hot, and we start getting the chills. We could start sweating. Okay, it kind of signals your body to start cooling things down. All right. On the opposite side of things, when your body temperature is too low, you start to shiver, and you start to generate the your body heat. When you shiver, you're contracting your muscles, which help to produce heat. All right. So that your hypothalamus is responsible for keeping you at that 98.6. The next condition that we're going to talk about is heat cramps. Okay, heat cramps is not very severe. I'm sure most of you, if you were an athlete at some point, you have experienced this. Okay, but it's going to be an involuntary muscle contraction, usually caused from dehydration. So you're working out, you're sweating a lot. You might be drinking some water, but you're not really putting back everything that you're losing, okay? You're going to see this a lot in your calves, in your abdomens, okay? These are going to be the cramps, though, that occur while you're working out, not the ones that, happen in the middle of the night and wake you up, all right? But these are all due to a loss of electrolytes, okay? So like I said, we're losing a lot of electrolytes in our sweat, and we're not putting them back, whether with just the water that we're drinking or if we are drinking some Gatorade. All right. What are we going to do about this? We are going to replenish. All right. Rehydrate is going to be a big key. Stretching those muscles that are cramping. All right. Because when it cramps, everything gets tight, tight, tight. And when you stretch it out, even though it's uncomfortable and it's painful, it helps to lengthen that muscle and get it to relax. And ice will also help alleviate that pain. Our next condition is heat exhaustion. Okay, heat exhaustion is caused from working out in a hot, humid environment for a long period of time, with a little bit of dehydration involved. Okay, your core temperature is about 102. Okay, remember, your core temperature is going to be the most accurate as to what's going on in the body. All right. With your heat exhaustion, you are going to take them inside, put them in the shade, whatever's available to you. You want to get them cooled down, all right? The cold towels, sipping on some water, okay? Heat exhaustion can quickly lead into something else, all right? Some symptoms of heat exhaustion: the athletes start to feel fatigued and dizzy, sick to their stomach. Headaches are a big one. Okay, that's kind of one of the first things that happen when somebody is dehydrated. All right, and they could be having a little bit of problems with their eyes. All right, sometimes they'll say that they have kind of spots in their eyes. Okay, some signs of heat exhaustion: they are sweating a lot. All right, that is a big one. Rapid and weak pulse. Excuse me. Decreased blood pressure, skin that is cold and pale, normal body temperature within that 102 range, okay, not anything higher than that, and decreased performance, all right? Heat exhaustion, if left untreated, can quickly lead us to our next illness, which is heat stroke, okay? Heat stroke is a life-threatening emergency. Your body temperature has reached dangerous levels, all right, so high that hypothalamus has stopped working, okay? It tried to cool you off, it tried to get everything working, and it can't do it anymore. This is where athletes can suddenly collapse and lose consciousness, all right? It's very, very severe. It is caused by working out in the hot, humid environments, not having enough fluids in their body. Maybe their body isn't ready. We didn't prepare enough to be out there in that environment. Okay, but it's definitely a life-threatening situation. Big thing here is heat stroke can occur without any warning. Okay, it's very, very deadly. All right. They might not show any of the heat exhaustion or heat stress or heat cramp signs. All right. The possibility of death from heat stroke can significantly be reduced if you can get those temperatures down quicker. All right. This is where we put the athletes in the ice bath. Okay. This is a whole lot more serious and needs to be, I need to have more dramatic methods of cooling your athletes down rather than just the cold towels and sipping some water. Some symptoms of heat stroke: they feel hot, they're dizzy, they're confused. Remember, they can be unconscious. All right. Signs: they, at this point, with that hypothalamus shutting down, you don't really have any sweating. They could have stopped sweating. Your temperature can be above 105, all right, which is very, very severe. And then a lot of the other ones are going to be similar to your heat exhaustions, except for we could have those dilated pupils, and like I said, they can be unconscious. Okay, life-threatening situation here. Heat stroke, where you're going to call 911 immediately and activate our emergency action plans, all right? And you're going to do whatever you can to cool that athlete off faster, okay? Put them in the whirlpool. You want to elevate their legs to keep that blood flow to those internal organs. Your feet don't need it as much as your brain and your heart and your lungs. But you do want to call 911 immediately. Our last condition that we're going to talk about is hyponatremia. And hyponatremia is just an imbalance in our electrolytes, okay? We've lost a lot of sodium, we've lost a lot of ions, and we're just putting water. We're drinking water, okay? Too much water in our body, it can be just as bad, okay? This can lead to seizures, all right? It is a little less common, all right, than we see the other ones, but it can happen, especially if we see those people that are just always drinking water, but you're losing more than just water, all right? We're going to talk about factors that affect heat loss, things that are going to either help or hurt you. Obviously, the hotter it is outside, the harder it is for your body to cool off. Humidity will play a big role. But a big thing is your surface. It's a lot hotter on the concrete or the turf versus on the wood floor, okay? Seeing the difference in the different surfaces that you're on. The type of clothing that you're going to wear is going to play a big role, all right? And your sports. A football player in his pads are going to have a lot more stress on his body than a cross-country runner in their workouts, okay? Then our last part of the heat chapter is preventing. What are we going to do about this? Acclimate is a big, important thing, all right? The UIL has done a good job of help educating coaches on this. Acclimation is slowly getting used to your environment. So when you come back to practice, going easy for a couple of days and working back to your full level of participation. That is usually 10 days, all right, 10 to 14 days. We want to wear light uniforms, take frequent water breaks, okay? A big thing that we do in our sports like football, sometimes in college soccer, we weigh in and weigh out before practice to see the weight loss that an athlete can sustain. If somebody loses a lot of weight in one practice, then it's expected that they can gain most of it back before the next practice. If they don't, that's going to put them at a substantial risk for a heat-related illness. Our next time we pick up, we will talk about cold.